What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Shug Nasty here. Thank you all for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about something I've been seeing a lot online recently, and that is the question, are Japanese Pokemon cards a viable investment option? Now, I think a lot of people are getting interested in investing in Pokemon, and they're getting curious and looking at the English market, looking at the high demand recently, the high prices, the high entry points, and it's not too appealing once they see those numbers. So they still want to actually invest in Pokemon, and they still want to partake in it. So they're looking for other options, and they're looking around and they're seeing Japanese cards and the much lower entry point over in Japan, and wondering, hey, like, is that an opportunity? Is that something I could get into? Maybe is it too late? What's going on there? And so I think it's a very fair question to ask. I think it's very smart to think that way. But I want to answer those questions in the best way I can. And that's not with TCG player charts. I'm not going to show you any of that. I'm not going to show you price history. There's plenty of videos out there of people doing that already. Instead, I want to show you or talk to you about the fundamental reasons why I believe that Pokemon cards in Japan are a viable investment option. And then also I'll talk about like current market indicators, stuff I'm seeing happening right here now in Japan, which lead me to believe that Pokemon cards will continue to rise in 2025. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. We'll get right into it. Fundamental reason number one is lower entry point. Now, the cost of an English booster box versus a Japanese booster box is vastly different. An English booster box costs about $120, whereas a Japanese booster box costs about $40. Meaning it's only a third the cost of an English booster box, meaning it's much more affordable. Many more people can afford $40 versus the amount of people that can afford $120. The overall cost of your investment being lower means reduced risk as well. If everything was to go to zero across the board tomorrow, instead of losing $120, you would only lose $40. Now, you still could invest the $120 into Japanese Pokemon booster boxes and buy 3 booster boxes, but you, instead of buying the same booster boxes, you could, diversify and buy 3 different booster boxes. You could buy a Super Electric Breaker, you could buy a Terrassel Festival, you could buy a Clayburst. That diversification will further reduce your risk in your investment. And I know there are other factors that go into risk calculation, many more factors that go into risk calculation, so just keep that in mind when you're making these decisions. Fundamental reason number 2 is demand spillover. Now, demand spillover is when a market's demand is not met by the market's supply, and the consumers of that market go to an adjacent market to satisfy that demand. For example, English to Japanese. We see this a lot in the release of Japanese products, being that they release a month and a half to 2 months earlier. English collectors aren't able to get the English product. They have to wait. A lot of people can't wait, so they want to open the product. It's a lot of, there's a lot of hype and excitement around the new cards. Everybody wants to be a part of that. It's understandable. There's also a lot of rip and shippers lately. A lot of people on Whatnot, eBay Live. A lot of people opening packs on streams. I think that's a pretty compounding factor currently, and a lot of the reason why we see this really high demand and spike in prices for Japanese product early on in releases. As it gets closer to the English set release, you'll see that price go down. You'll see it kind of like maybe be more stagnant. And depending on how well the Pokemon card company anticipates the demand for English product will kind of determine whether or not that demand rebounds or re-spills over into the Japanese side of things. Oftentimes in the bull market recently, you'll see a lot of like I said, it's really high at the beginning, kind of goes down and stagnates as it gets closer to the English release. And then as soon as people start figuring out whether or not they can get that product will determine where this graph's going to go on the Japanese side of things. It may change very little, but if they feel like they can't get product, if it's starting to seem like there's going to be nothing left, or it's going to be really high or really hard to get, then they'll go back into the Japanese side of things, and you'll see the graph kind of trend upwards on the Japanese side of things. And it's just, it's super volatile. A lot of like FOMO and panic is like factoring into this. The unknown is what is like people are trying to figure out. And so like markets are super volatile in the beginning, and then as people figure shit out, they become more stable. This is all kind of like in the short term, maybe more so on the reseller side, not so more long-term holds, but it does apply to the long-term investing side of things as well. With sets with great stability. By stability, I mean they have great hits, great set identity. People enjoy opening them. Those sets will do good long term, and as people open them over time and they become less and less available, the English side of things is usually where it's higher, and so it becomes too rich for people's wallets, and they know the Japanese is usually lower, so they'll go there. Some of that demand spills back over into there, so it does apply to the long term as well. Just oftentimes it's easier to notice in the short term. Fundamental reason number 3 is card quality and hit rates. Now, if you've never opened a Japanese booster pack or held a Japanese Pokemon card, you may not be familiar, but the print quality of Japanese cards is very high. The textures are amazing, the vibrance is through the roof, And in my opinion, generally speaking, the eye appeal of the card is overall is better than an English counterpart. And regarding the hit rates of the box, in English, you don't have guaranteed hit rates. In Japanese, we have guaranteed hit rates. You're guaranteed at least one SR or SAR, and then you're also guaranteed at least 3 ARs. And there's a few things to consider here. With the card quality being better out of the pack, you maybe have a higher PSA 10 population. That means more supply on the market. Is there enough demand to meet that supply? You need to ask yourself that question. Also, the same argument can be applied to the guaranteed hit rates of the Japanese boxes. Because each box is guaranteed an SR or SAR, you may have more supply. Will there be enough demand to meet that supply? But I think it's also important to consider the casual collector, the person that the majority of people that are buying these boxes or these cards are casual collectors. They may not have thousands of dollars to spend on Pokemon cards every year, and they may like the fact that the card quality is better. They're not looking for what that card is worth really. Some people may, but I think a lot of people, the binder boys, the people that are just enjoy the artwork, are just they want a good condition card, something that's nice to look at, that's not super off center, it has a bunch of whitening or whatever it may be. And then also like I said, they don't have thousands of dollars to spend. I think a lot of people like the fact that you can get a guaranteed SR, SAR, and then a few ARs out of a box. A lot of people like the dopamine hit they get, the gambling aspect of Pokemon cards, but you still have that a little bit with the Japanese boxes. It's just not as much. You still don't know what SR or what hit you're going to get, what ARs you're going to get. So you still have that mystery behind the opening of the Pokemon pack. Number 4 is the X Factor, and it's a bit of an apocalyptic type scenario, a bit of a spicy take, but that is if another IP came along or something else that took away a lot of that demand and popularity of Pokemon, the English card market would die before the Japanese card market would. And the reason I give for that is if you've ever been to Japan, it would be quickly apparent that Pokemon in Japan is not just a card thing, it's not just a video game, a plushie, a toy thing. It's in everyday life. You'll see it in the stores, you'll see it in the snack aisle, in the clothing, you'll see it they have Pokemon furniture, they have Pokemon buses, entire buses painted with Pokemon. They have Pokemon manholes, like in the streets, there's actual manholes painted and they're actually cast in the shape of the Pokemon, like on top. They're what's it called, embossed, and then painted, put in the ground. I don't know how somebody hasn't stolen them yet. I'm waiting for the opossum bud video of this thing to be on eBay or somewhere. But yeah, it's everywhere. I could go on and on. There's a million things that Pokemon is in, and it's not just like like I said, in the cards and the toys and the video games, in the whatever. It's in everyday life. So if everything, if something sucked all the demand away from Pokemon, I think the English market would die first and the Japanese market would still be, around. All right, lastly, before I let you guys go, I want to talk about also the current market indicators, things that I've seen here on the ground floor in Japan that lead me to believe that the Japanese market will be continue to go up in 2025. First off, I want to talk about, if you weren't here for 2023, early 2023, we did have a period of time where Japanese Pokemon cards were non-existent almost. You couldn't even order one from the Japanese Pokemon Center here. You had to submit your name for in a lottery, and then you would get notified if you were chosen to buy a box. And based on a poll I saw on Twitter from a pretty large account, it was about a 30% chance that you would get a box. I wasn't even that lucky. I think I got a single box in the entire year, maybe 2 boxes. But these are brand new sets of Scarlet and Violet. Like, how do you hype up an era and get people excited for it if you can't even fulfill the demand for it? Which, nothing against them, it wasn't expected, but I think Pokemon, they, like I said, the last year and a half has been really great because they reprinted a bunch of shit. They put even Sword and Shield sets out there. They did Paradigm Trigger, Lost Abyss, and Incandescent Arcana. So they even printed Sword and Shield stuff too, or reprinted it. And it's been pretty great. But recently with Terrestrial Festival and the shortage in supply there, like I think I couldn't find, after like maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks, I wasn't able to find anything in stores. The Pokemon Center here wasn't even selling boxes. Like the in-store Pokemon Center didn't sell boxes at all. I think that was like Japan wide too. I think it was 2 to 5 packs per person per day was like across Japan at the in-person Pokemon Center stores, not the online stores. The online stores had nothing. You could pre-order 5 boxes, but then the day of release, there was nothing, as far as I know. Also, you have like battle partners with that whole situation. There's been 2 pre-order periods. The first was a couple weeks ago, and they sold out within 24 hours, less than 24 hours. This second pre-order period happened 2 days ago, I believe on the 7th. They sold out within 3.5 hours. Now I don't know how much the second pre-order was like made up of, or if I'm guessing it wasn't as much as the first, but that's crazy. Like, and it was a 1 box limit per person. It wasn't even the normal 5 box limit that we've been at recently. So those are two indicators. One big thing I think is going to be important to watch with this is, since Pokemon's already had this and experienced this and went through it, that I'm sure they put contingencies in place and have a plan in case it happened again. Whether or not they expected it to happen this soon or to this level, will be interesting to see, like, because we'll know how well prepared they are depending on how available boxes are, how available product is. That will kind of let us know, like, okay, this is really crazy demand, because like I said, I'm sure they prepared somewhat for this and have some contingencies in place, but based on how much demand there is and how little supply we have, will kind of let us know like how big this bull market is right now. So like I said, just something to be aware of and watch out. I'll do update videos and stuff like that. But the lack of supply and the limited pre-orders is something that I think is kind of an indicator of what we're about to see in 2025. Hopefully it doesn't go to that. Hopefully we're not on lottery system. Hopefully this is just like we're all making assumptions too early and they open it up, in a month before or a couple weeks before, and we're able to order as much as we want. But yeah, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys for watching, staying with me. Let me know what you guys think of my fundamental reasons for Japanese Pokemon card investing. Let me know if you have any questions in the about the video or about Japanese Pokemon card investing in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer those. Thank you guys for the recent support, and I'll see you in the next